Morning, I'm Rusty Scarborough with Walter B. Jacobs Memorial Nature Park. And this morning we're going to learn a little bit about maybe one of our more unfamiliar, or maybe it is familiar, but a lot of the terminology is misused. So let's learn a little bit about vultures. Now, vultures used to be in the bird of prey family. They have now been more closely related to storks and herons. So they kind of been kicked out of the bird of prey group, and birds of prey are in that group because they have very sharp, powerful talons. So this is the foot of a red-tailed hawk, and they have those sharp, curved talons. Now, those are designed to kill with, and they puncture internal organs, but this is the foot of a vulture. And you see, they don't look as strong and powerful as those feet from the hawk did. Vultures typically do not kill their prey. They typically eat carrion or dead animals, previously killed animals. Technically, most everything eats dead animals, but in the birds of prey world, hawks, eagles, falcons, owls, they kill their prey and then eat it. Rarely do they scavenge or eat previously killed animals. Vultures do eat previously killed animals. One of the really cool things, if you're familiar with rotting corpses, and there's a bacteria that puts off a very toxic poison called botulinum. And if we could distribute it properly, 1 ounce of botulinum, 1 pound of botulinum poison would kill every human on the planet. But vultures' digestive juices can break down botulinum and it won't hurt them at all. So they're actually saving animals and saving dangers by eating these rotting corpses. That takes out that botulinum poison, and other animals don't get exposed to it as easily. Vultures, many people here in the deep south refer to them as buzzards, and they are not buzzards. Buzzard is a group name for a certain physical characteristic for hawks. So technically, if they're the broad-winged hawks, like the red-tailed hawk or the red-shouldered hawk or the broad-winged hawk, they are all true buzzards. So if you were in Europe, they would call those birds buzzards. In Africa, we have the auger buzzard, and in England, they have the common buzzard. Here in America, they would call our red-tailed hawk a red-tailed buzzard. And so what I think happened is, as people migrated from Europe to Louisiana or the deep south or America, they don't have vultures in Europe. So when they saw this bird soaring above them that had those broad wings, they thought it was a buzzard or a hawk, and they miscalled it. And that name has just stuck over many years. So people see these birds flying over them, and they think that it is a buzzard, when in fact it's a vulture. So here are the 2 vulture species we have here. If you notice this one on the bottom, the black vulture has a short tail, and the turkey vulture has a a long tail. Now, they're the only 2 species of vultures we have here in America. And so the turkey vulture has a red head, and the black vulture has a black kind of chalky head. So I have 2 skulls. One of our naturalists here is just amazing. Miss Julia takes animals. We have a salvage permit, so when we find a dead animal, we can take it and make educational items out of it. And here is the turkey vulture skull that she prepared. Lauren, I'm still not on speaker view. I'm having a hard time seeing if it's focusing. Can you see if you can change me to speaker view? And then
speaker view, I can see you.
It's showing you as speaker view now.
I'm going to mute myself again. So go ahead and start talking and see if it works.
Okay. Right now it's still showing you, but can y'all, is the skull showing up clearly or is it blurry when I get closer? Okay. All right. So vultures, as everybody here calls them buzzards, are vultures. We have the turkey vulture and the black vulture, and we see them soaring around. One of the ways we can tell the difference between a vulture soaring and a buzzard or a hawk soaring is a vulture typically has an inverted helix, so kind of like a V when you see them soaring around, and hawks are more flattened if you see them soaring. I have a couple pictures of each one of our vultures. So here is the black vulture soaring. And one way you can tell it's a black vulture, if you can't see very much of the bird, if you see that it looks like half of the wing is white and half the inner part is black, that's our black vulture. And then conversely, if we look at the turkey vulture, let's see if I can get some light on here. The turkey vulture has a solid white wing trail. So it goes all the way to the armpit, so to speak. So this is the turkey vulture and this is the black vulture. The black vulture has the half wing is white. Turkey vulture has the full wing is white. Now, vultures have two really kind of gross things that they do. And I think it's pretty interesting. One, if you know, how many of you are like really familiar with how hot it gets here in the summertime? In July and August, it gets really hot. And one of the things that vultures will do to help cool them off is they will poop down their legs. So a lot of times if you see their legs, they look white. Now, of course, we've cleaned these when Miss Julia was preserving these legs, but they poop down their legs and they'll be real white and chalky, but that moisture helps cool them off. They have a lot of blood vessels going through their legs, so that helps cool them off. And it is kind of a gross thing, but that is pretty common. The other thing is a safety thing. If, you know, they're usually eating dead animals. So if another animal comes in and wants to take that carcass away from them, or a bigger type of vulture wanted to take that type of carcass, or any other predator, say a coyote tries to attack them while they're eating, they will fly. But before they fly, they need to be lighter in weight, so they will vomit. They will throw up on their challenger. And so that can be really challenging as an educator. We have to be careful when we're handling vultures, because if they get upset and if they've eaten recently, they'll throw that back up. And so like here at the nature park, we feed a lot of chicken and rats to our vulture. And a regurgitated rat does not smell good. So that's one thing we want to try to avoid. So specifically, I asked that they not feed the vulture until after this program. So here in a moment, we'll get the vulture out. Let me show you some close-up photographs of the two vultures. And I am not sure. Let me see if I can get some more light going on in here. I apologize for the. So if you can see, and you'll see this one in the actual animal, you see how red the head is. It's kind of bald, and if you're sticking your head into rotting carcasses for a living to get your food, they don't have feathers that soak up all of that goo. So they have no feathers on their head. And the turkey vulture is named because its head is red, kind of like a turkey. And then the black vulture has a black or somewhat pasty looking head. It can be white, chalky looking to black like this one. Sometimes when their skin is dry, it looks more chalky or gray. One other really cool thing about the vulture, like, let's look at the skull up real close. You see the nostril. In the vultures, you can see all the way through the nostril. So in the living bird, when we get it out in a little bit, you'll be able to see a hole going all the way through his nostril area. There's no septum dividing the nostril. And that is one way that helps them track their food, because they soar around and they can detect rotting flesh from miles away. They just keep soaring on thermals, and that's how they find their food base. So let me go through all my visual aids and make sure. I do have the primary wing feather, just to show you how big one feather is from a vulture. This is like the leading feather that they fly with, and here is the wing of a vulture. So that's one half of a vulture, you know, it's right wing, and then this is one feather off of a vulture. This one feather weighs almost a gram. I'm sorry, almost an ounce. 28 grams is how much that feather almost weighs. All right, now we're going to get the vulture out and take a look. This animal was raised in captivity, which was illegal for the person to take this baby vulture out of a cave. Vultures usually nest in very large hollow trees, or not that we have a lot of caves in Louisiana, but if they're up in the mountainous regions, they nest in caves. But they have been found to nest in anything they find, like a deer box stand. Many times deer hunters go to their stand in the fall and they'll find where a vulture has raised babies, or they may even find the actual baby still in the nest. And they'll also nest in old buildings that are unoccupied. Not too many weeks ago, I got a call to come and retrieve a vulture that had gotten into a vacant, it had been a food service, like a fast food building, but the vulture, there was a hole in the roof and the vulture had gotten in there and gotten trapped. But so they take advantage of any available nesting, whether that's an old dilapidated house or motel, or a deer stand, or any kind of thing like that. So many times when people go to their deer stands, they'll find evidence of vultures. But this vulture was raised in captivity, and then now it's an educational animal here at the nature park. Can you come see me? Let's turn around. All right, so this is our turkey vulture. And as you can see, I'll make him flare his wings again. And you see that it has that white color to its wing all the way down the wing. And then let's see if I can get up really close and let you look at his red face. Can you see through the nostril? She's watching TV. All right, Lauren, if the group has any questions, I can try to field those. Oh, now we have the light come on. So finally, maybe I can give you a better look at the face.
I have a question. So why are vultures, is there an importance for the environment? Why are vultures so important?
Well, absolutely. They're very important because they're eating all those dead animals. I mean, if they weren't eating them, can you imagine how long those things you see run over on the road, and how many of them would be piled up over time? And plus, like I was speaking earlier, all those rotting carcasses have bacteria in them that can cause disease that could spread into other animals. So since the vultures are eating those and getting them out and recycled, so to speak, then they're helping our environment and thereby helping us.
Okay, and I have another question. I had a vulture camping out under my carport for about 3 days, and it would hop across the street and go to this possum that it found. And then at night, it would come back and stay under our carport. And if you go to the car, it would just look at you and not move or anything. Does that mean it was nesting?
What was the last part?
Does that mean it was nesting, or do you know what it may have been doing?
It probably was just looking for a safe place to spend the night, and there was still food close by. I have a friend that lives over on the Dixie-Shreveport Highway, and every year the vultures show up in her barn. So they may be nesting or looking for nesting there. But vultures typically can find a roost in an area, and so you'll find them. I've seen some old, I don't know if they're old water towers or well towers, but I've seen these old metal structures that look like an oil tower, and I've seen vultures roosting on them all the time. So they like certain places to roost, and since there was food nearby, they were just kind of staying in the local motel.
All right, we have another question. In the Westerns, you see vultures circling, and the actors say something died. Are they the only birds that do that?
Many birds might eat. Vultures and condors eat dead animals, but one of the things is some birds don't have the strong ripping beak. So since a vulture has a pretty strong beak, they can break into the tough hides of the carcasses of some of those animals. So a lot of different animals may eat dead animals, or may take advantage of what we call carrion. That's a previously killed animal. But the vultures, many times, especially in other continents, like the king vulture has a very powerful beak, and some of the other vultures can't break into a carcass until the king vulture gets there and breaks it in.
Okay, and do vultures get along with each other?
Yeah, they will roost together. Now, certainly when they're paired up and raising babies, they don't hang out with other vultures, but throughout the rest of the year, you will see them soaring together and eating together. But so they may have a squabble over who's getting this piece of meat. They'd certainly fight over food, but there'll be, 3 to 8 vultures on a big carcass.
And how much do they eat to survive?
We feed ours about 1 pound a day, or at least 3/4 of a pound of food a day. And then we skip 1 day a week. We usually fast all of our birds 1 day a week. In the wild, they may not eat every day, but here they eat every day but one each week.
And here, when you see the vultures in the street, and they always know to, cars coming, get up and fly away. Have they just grown accustomed to the cars on the road?
Absolutely right. Every once in a while, you'll still see one that gets hit. It also depends on the speed at which the car is approaching. Historically, over the past 10,000 years, vultures hadn't had to worry about cars, but over the last 100 years. So vultures are very intelligent. In the bird world, they're one of the more intelligent and one of the more challenging birds to do programs with because of their intelligence. So they have become accustomed to getting out of the car way, so that when they, let's not go anywhere, so that when the food is available, they're out there eating it, but they don't want to lose their life. So they are pretty intelligent in that way. I'm going to go ahead and slip her back in the cage. I'll continue to answer the questions, though. She's making me feel like she's fixing to try to take off.
If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can put them in the chat box. Okay. Well, is there any more fun facts you want to share with us, Rusty?
Well, I just would like to leave y'all with the idea that vultures are not, I have this really cool book on my bookshelf called Vulture, Nature's Ghastly Gourmets, because they eat all the things that we don't want to think about eating. But they do serve a purpose in our ecosystem, and I think they're pretty incredible. Some vultures in other continents, the bearded vulture, will swallow whole bones of larger animals, and their digestive system will completely digest that solid bone. So they're a really cool animal. They do have some icky things like pooping down their legs and vomiting, but everything has its little idiosyncrasies. And they're vultures, not buzzards.
And someone asked, do your vultures get fat? Do they know to stop eating when full, or do they eat because food is there?
Well, in the wild, animals rarely get fat because it's survival. And that's why, I mean, a vulture will eat a rotting skunk. So first off, you have the rotting and then you have the skunk smell. So that smell doesn't bother them. They want to be here tomorrow. So they eat what is available. So in the wild, rarely do wild animals, quote unquote, get fat. But here in captivity, we monitor what and the quantity, so they never get a gorge meal. They never just eat until they can't take another bite. And we maintain their health here at the nature park.
Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, someone said thank you.
All right. Very pleased to be with y'all today.
Yes, and this is great. I'm very interested in vultures, so this is really good.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the people that logged in.
And on behalf of Shreve Memorial Library, thank you, Rusty and Walter B. Jacobs. And then next month, we will talk about crawfish for the last Saturday in April, so be sure to sign up for that. And again, thank you, Rusty and Walter B. Jacobs, and everybody for joining.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Lauren.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.